If you're leaving white space on your calendar, but somehow you still have zero free time or any time for yourself, this episode is for you. Today, I'm going to be sharing why this is happening, but most importantly, what you can do to prevent it. Okay, here's the scenario. You've been taught it's really important to leave white space on your calendar, right? White space meaning you're not booking every minute of your day from sunup to sundown. And a lot of people recommend this, right? Make sure you're not getting overbooked. Leave open time in your calendar. So you're doing this thinking this is going to prevent you from getting overbooked and this is going to allow you to have some downtime. But at the end of the week, you're like, man, I still didn't get everything done. And I didn't get any time for myself. And I'm seeing this happen time and time again, especially when women are trying to implement a more masculine planning system. And the underlying mistake that's going on here is that you don't realize it, but you are actually lumping four types of time uses into your white space, and you don't even realize you're doing it. All right, so we're going to be breaking down here today what those four things are so that you have some awareness of what you may want to change and how you're planning your time. Now, before we jump into all of this, an email recently came in that was something I wanted to share here with you from a recent top student. Her name is Allie. And I do share information about the top program here on the podcast, usually referring to the content that's in there. But one of the things that you may not know about my background is that I actually did a lot of training in my corporate life and actually invested in being trained myself on how to build really good training content. And so I want to share this email that Ali wrote in because if you've been thinking about joining the top program, but you're like, oh, I'm just worried about the time commitment. And is it something I'm going to be able to follow along? So she wrote in and said, hi, Megan, I just joined the top program. I have taken and finished many courses. I know sometimes people don't see a strength because it's so part of them. And so I want to highlight a strength of yours. The way your course is laid out is outstanding and not the norm. And then she lists these four key things. Number one, the efficiency of the videos, getting on the necessary info needed across in the quickest way possible. Number two, having we provide a Google tracking sheet for everyone to track their progress. She says, why doesn't everyone have this in their course? Again, you're a genius. Number three, having minute totals of all the videos ahead of time so we know how much time to block out to actually take the training. And then she said, number four, locking some of the videos to release at set time so we don't get overwhelmed. She then closed the email by saying, not to be dramatic, but if every course creator implemented those four things, I swear the world would be a better place. You are a genius. Thank you for writing that in, Allie. And I wanted to just take a minute and really share that here with you all today, because if you feel like some courses you've been taking are overwhelming, you log in and you see an hour-long video, you're like, ugh, don't let that be a reason why you don't join the top program, because we have intentionally thought of all of that. All right, so let's jump into our topic here today about white space. And I'm going to kick things off by kind of using a financial analogy with this because I really think this helps hit it home. And yes, I use a lot of financial analogies when we're talking about how we plan and manage our time, but it's because they work beautifully. All right, so you may have heard of some form in the budgeting world, if you will, of zero-based budgeting and the intent behind the zero-based budgeting technique is when you're looking at, budgeting all of your money, is that every penny essentially or every dollar has a specific purpose. So zero-based budgeting is where you're looking at, okay, this is all the income that I have over the given month, and then I am going to list out with specificity how each of it is being spent, whether it's for fun, vacation, for bills, for, just extra money to go, to have discretionary income to do with what you want. All right. So that's one form of budgeting that you may have heard of. Another that kind of relates to this is the envelope system. And I think a lot of us maybe have done this with our kids too, where you kind of take your money for a set amount of time and then you lay out envelopes like, all right, this much can go to food and groceries, this much can go to entertainment, this so on and so forth. And the idea is when the money runs out of that envelope for that set of time, well, then you're out and you can't spend any more money on that category. Well, when it comes to managing our white space on our calendar, meaning times on our calendar that we don't have anything specifically scheduled, we need to understand that usually 4 categories of time are actually living in that white space if we haven't learned the right way to plan. All right, so I'm going to break down what these 4 are, and then I'm going to kind of relate it back to the financial because I think it really, really helps understand what I'm talking about here. So the most common mistake that I see from people is that 2 of these they're always lumping up together. All right. So first and foremost is this concept of buffer time, meaning you may be scheduling time on your calendar and you know that typically you don't estimate very well. All right. So you're like, okay, I've got to work on this task. I'm going to block off an hour of time to do it. And then you're like, but I'm going to leave some white space after that in case it takes me longer. And when we think of this with finances, where this comes in is you may have expenses each month where like it's a range, right? So like our grocery bill, I can't nail that down to the exact dollar every single month, but we know what the range is, right? So when we're thinking of buffer time, with our planning rather than leaving white space for buffer time for that, oh, what if I estimate wrong? It's a range. It might take me anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. So I'm just going to block off an hour and then leave white space. What you need to be doing instead is blocking off the amount of time, including your buffer time. Buffer time is not white space on your calendar. All right. Because if you always underestimate, if you're seeing white space in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh, this is extra free time I'm going to have. Well, if you're constantly consuming it with the fact that you don't estimate well, then guess what? You're never going to have free time. So the way to fix this is to actually block off that amount of time, including the buffer time. Now, with finances, the way this works for us is we're always kind of earmarking what we believe is our worst case scenario for how much money we're going to spend on groceries. And if we spend less, then guess what? Now we have some extra free money. Well, not free, but you know what I mean. Same is true with your calendar. If you plan for an hour and a half, but you get it done in an hour and 10 minutes, well, now you truly have 20 minutes to do whatever you want before you're, moving on to your next task. So that is the first, kind of way that people are using white space that isn't the intended use for white space. White space is truly supposed to be when this window of time comes, guess what? I'm going to be able to do whatever I want and I'm going to be able to do it guilt-free. So now let's look at the second way that people are subtly, their white space is being taken away from them. And this is around your personal time. So a lot of women will go, okay, I'm going to make sure that I'm getting personal time back in my life. And I'm just going to do that by putting white space on my calendar. And so when that white space hits, this is going to be personal time. Well, because you haven't actually labeled and prioritized time on your calendar as personal time, what is going to happen 99% of the time is, let's say, you had a white space from 1 to 2 o'clock. What you're going to end up doing is instantly going into task list mode and going, okay, what do I need to knock out? Right. And before you know it, you're doing things for other people. You're jumping into, work for the next day. If you're at home, maybe you're, tackling cleaning tasks and all of that. And you're not actually using it for personal time. You're going into productivity mode. And the reason you're doing that is because you're not specifically labeling this as personal time. So when I am mapping out my week, I have blocks of time that are appointments with myself to do the things that I love. Right. And I've shared here on the podcast before, I block off my cello practice time on my calendar. That is personal time. Because if I don't, and I'm like, oh, I'll just get it done sometime during the white space, guess what's not going to happen? A cello practice, right? Because I'm going to let other people come in and take that time. Because maybe someone's like, hey, Megan, are you free at 1 o'clock? And because my calendar shows white space, I'm going to go, yes. And then there goes my personal time. All right. So again, the way you're going to fix this is you're actually going to put the time on your calendar that you are reserving for yourself and prioritizing you. Now, the third way that people are also, leveraging this concept of white space, and I talk about this a lot, is what I call the planning for uncertainty time. And think of this with finance as your emergency fund. All right, so here's what I mean by that. We all know that no matter how good you plan out your week, things are going to come up that you have to address, right? We cannot predict unless you can see into the future everything that's going to come up over a week. And I don't know anybody that's able to plan their week and then shut out the whole outside world and not have any new stuff pop up that now they need to figure out how to work into the week. So one of the things I teach inside the top program is exactly how to calculate what your uncertainty budget needs to be and then how you build that into your plan. And spoiler alert, it's not with white space. Now, this is similar to when you're thinking about your finances, having some emergency bank account, right? Something could happen this year, right? You might need, well, we just found out we have to get 4 new tires on the car, right? Maybe your hot water heater goes out, your roof leaks, or something happens where now you need money that's not wrapped up into your usual budget. And this is why a lot of people say, hey, put a little money aside every single month for an emergency fund. So if an emergency happens, you're not now going into financial debt to be able to handle that. Well, this is what planning for uncertainty is. And so the way we fix this with our calendar, again, you don't leave white space for it, is I know right now during my working time, I need to plan for 4 hours, 4 emergency hours, if you will, that I will need to have available to me to handle things that are going to come in during the week that I don't know about. So I do this by actually blocking and protecting and labeling 4 hours of my time each week as my uncertainty time, as my emergency fund, right? I'm not leaving it as white space because I know I'm going to need that time. So I need to actually visually capture that. This allows me when the emergency pops up during the week, right? I can move things around and lean on those 4 hours. I can either replan something or I can wait and handle it for when one of those blocks of time presents itself. But again, I'm visually labeling that. It's not white space. So we've covered this personal time, buffer time, and uncertainty time. Those 3 things are what a lot of people are not realizing is where all their white space is going. And all 3 of those, your personal time, your buffer time, and your emergency fund, your uncertainty time, those need to be visually blocked off on your calendar. Those are not white space because you know you're going to need them. Now, what's left over, true white space. Think of this as truly like what my husband and I call like slush fund money, like fun money, where you're just saying, we're setting aside, like, I've got a little bit of money here and I don't know how I'm going to spend it, but when the opportunity arises, it's there and I'm going to have a lot of it and I'm not going to feel bad or guilty about it. So the white space on your calendar, when all of a sudden you have an open chunk of time, if you don't have the ability to go, how am I going to spend that? Right? Deciding in the moment and doing it guilt-free, it's likely because you're not planning in a way that pulls out your personal time, your uncertainty time, and your buffer time, right? Those need to be treated as different buckets than true white space. So if you have been, you're really diligent about keeping white space on your calendar, but you're like, man, I never get that like, what do I feel like doing now window. Every time white space happens, it's being used by something else. It's likely because you're lumping all of those things up into one, right? And friends, let's be honest here. When push comes to shove, if you are short on time, what is the first thing you're going to let go of? Personal time, time for yourself, right? We all do it. It's instinctive. This is why that one in particular needs to be clearly labeled on your calendar. So I would love to hear if you're like, oh, now I see why this white space thing has not been working for me. Come over, find me on Instagram, shoot me a DM, and let me know what change you are going to be putting into your planning moving forward to ensure that your white space is actual white space. All right. Now, the entire planning system is what we learn and master inside of the top program. If you want to get any more information on that, you can just head right on over to thetopprogram.com. I've got all the scoop on everything that you get inside the program there. All right, friends, have a great week.